And here we see the beautiful Lever House, and the construction of the Lever House marked a transition point for Park Avenue in Midtown, changing it from a boulevard of masonry apartment buildings to one of glass towers as other corporations adopted the international style of new headquarters. The design was copied. The design that you're seeing here was actually copied by from Ankara, Turkey, their Emek Business Center in 1959, and Paris's Orly Airport Terminal South in 1961, and also Berlin's high-rise tower called Europa Center in 1965. And the building itself was designated a landmark in 1982 and was added to the National Historic Register place in 1983. Now, the Lever House was built in 1950 and 1952 to be part of the American headquarters of the British soap company Lever Brothers. It was the pet project of Lever Brothers president Chuck Luckman, who had been identified on the cover of Time magazine as a boy wonder. Well, you know, when you hear boy wonder, you always get nervous. And but Luckman would leave the company before the building's completion, and as just as a reminder, it was completed in 1952, and he would go on to achieve notable architectural results such as Madison Square Garden, the Theme Building, and the Los Angeles International Airport, and the Kennedy Space Center, and the Johnson Space Center. Now, because at the time in the 50s and 60s, New York City was very eager to have a lot of open space, they created an ordinance or a resolution called the 1960 Zoning Resolution, which required a lot of open space if buildings rose up, so that just this way the bulk of the rising up the building wouldn't be overwhelming for the people of New York. And the building itself is 24 stories tall, and heat-resistant glass, stainless steel curtain, and it's really an amazing building itself. And now what happened is the design wanted no ground floor tenants, just open space, and you can see here the open space on the ground floor. And the second and largest floor contained the employees' lounge. Well, now it's more of like a space for restaurants, a space for other people to use that own the building. Well, in 1982, New York City declared that this building was going to be a landmark. But even then, it was starting to decline along with the fortunes of the city, and the glass facade was starting to deteriorate a little bit, and so it required a lot of work, and that was part of the problem. And what's interesting too, the land underneath this building was leased, and it was acquired by an investor who really likes just to own leaseholds, and so it's amazing. And Sarah Corain acquired the land from the Golet estate, and Unilever for a long time was still there, but they decided to move to Greenwich, Connecticut. Now, in 1998, the leasehold position was acquired from Unilever by the German-American real estate magnates Abby Rosen and Michael Fuchs. And the Corain and the Kleinheinz family retained the fee position, but signed a new lease with the Rosen firm. Now, believe it or not, when someone owns the leasehold underneath the building, it becomes very significant, because there's always negotiations when the leasehold renews, and theoretically the leaseholder could make it very, very expensive to own the building and take all the profit from the building, because they will force the building to pay a certain amount of the leasehold. But the RFR and the owners of Lever Brothers, of the Lever House, got into a good arrangement. So, and then what ended up happening is they ended up redoing the exterior, because there was a big problem with the quality of the glass, because it had corroded and the metal underneath the glass had corroded, so they had to fix everything up. And you see now the bright, shiny exterior redone to make it a beautiful landmark building for New York City. Another view of the Lever House, owned by RFR, Abby Rosen and Michael Fuchs. Just a beautiful structure. Now, on the ground floor, the empty space that you see there, they usually have art exhibitions. And on the second floor, they usually have a restaurant, but that's always changing. But as I mentioned, this is a landmark building, so there are limitations to what they can do. And then there's a plaza inside the building, but also a rooftop plaza on the top of the second floor. And you can see that there. Just a beautiful building. Now, this is done in the style of the United Nations. After the United Nations was built, they also built this. So this is done in a glass curtain style. And when you see the United Nations or pictures of the United Nations, you'll see the similarity to the construction of this building. Here's another view of the Lever House, a little bit closer. Chance for everyone to see a little bit more of what the Lever House looks like. Look at the open space underneath the Lever House. You can see how much open space there is. And it was designed this way. They wanted it to be this way. Actually, there is a restaurant for many years that's on the second floor. There's a change in restaurants now, but it's a prestigious place to have a restaurant. Convenient location. There's so many high-profile firms all around here that are eager to find a place to have a dinner. And again, this is the open space underneath the Lever House. Then what you're seeing there in the distance is the empty space that's been enclosed that they usually use for artworks, art exhibitions. In the open courtyard, like they have a second floor, but it's been opened to the sunlight. And you can see here at the Lever House how it looks. It's an amazing architectural style. Of course, done intentionally to allow open space, because in the 1950s, 1940s, a lot of construction was very solid construction, and it didn't lend itself to open lighting, to a lot of lightness and airiness. So you can see how they tried something different with this. And you can see how they have a lot of greenery in this open space. And as I said before, this is a landmark building. So it's just beautifully done. It's just that the maintenance on the glass and the metal is a lot. But that's all part of what is done. It's part of what's required in order to maintain a building like this. You can see here as we look up, it's just beautiful, just beautiful.